Oh, yeah, I was just gonna text her. No, that's good.
Hi, Angie. Okay, so we got a quorum, excellent. Okay. Oh, hi, Jerry.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Sherry.
Hello.
Okay, we can start a couple minutes early because I know people who aren't gonna be here. So we'll start the meeting at 6:57. Roll call for people. Angie DeSantos. Okay.
I'm here.
John Kopak is on vacation. Carl Varga is not gonna make it either. He sent me an email. Jesse Burnham,
Here.
Garth Bean is not going to be back until August. Okay, so we have Christina Davis.
Present.
Okay, Christina, I'm gonna seat you for Garth.
Okay.
And Esther Jagodzinski. Oh, one more, Hugh McKenzie. Okay, so we have our four. Communications. I sent out an email earlier this evening. I'm going to be resigning from chair as of July. I think it was, I put 27th, for personal reasons. So hopefully we'll have somebody that will step up. Don't jump at it, guys, but if anybody would like to become chair, let me know and let Bill know, and we'll figure out from here what's going on. As far as other communications, I really don't have anything at the moment. Public comments. Okay. Motion to approve minutes of a regular meeting from June 22nd. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And can I have a second? I will be the second. Any discussion, changes?
Did you join that meeting, Jesse?
No.
Okay.
I was
You're not.
I was not present.
The only question I had was Colleen. I don't know if Colleen is Colleen.
COLLEN, yeah.
EEN. Okay, so I'm missing an L. That's the under new business, it's the third paragraph, first sentence. Colleen,
So it's supposed to be spelled how?
COLLEEN.
Okay.
Other than that, I was okay with that. Anybody else have anything? No. Okay. Angie, you okay with them?
Yeah,
Okay. So all those in favor to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of June 22nd, 2022? Aye.
Aye.
Can we do it with three? Can we approve them with just three?
I think so. I was gonna make a point of order because I checked this out a while back ago. Because I know traditionally, if you don't make the meeting on a small board, you recuse yourself. But my understanding from FOI is that if you miss a meeting, but you refresh yourself with the minutes, that you're allowed to vote on them.
okay. So I vote yes.
Jesse, did you get to read them?
Yeah, I'm reviewing them. I guess I could vote aye as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna say the motion passed unanimously.
And I'll get the statute to the,
Well, if it is a problem, we'll just redo it next meeting.
yeah,
I-
That's Sherry.
Bill Folletti.
What was that, Sherry?
I can tell you, Bill is correct about meeting minutes, because we had our town attorney also let us know that if somebody was not available at the meeting, wasn't at the previous meeting, they can still vote on the minutes as long as they've reviewed them.
Okay. Okay, like I said, I'm pretty comfortable with it. If there's an issue or somebody makes an issue, we'll just do it the next meeting we have more than 4 people.
Yep. We had that issue come up also.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so we have new business, but our selectman is tied up for the moment, so we'll jump to 6B, the annual report.
Sure. Actually, Bill's back. Do you want to just,
Keep in line?
Keep in line.
Okay, Bill, you're up.
I'm up.
You're up.
Incidentally, that was Dave Rossman. I had invited him and Sherry because we're gonna be talking about possibility of things related to the rec committee. He said he'll be here in a few minutes, so.
Okay.
We've had a change in leadership at Department of Public Works. Effective July 10th, Joe Kalinowski, after over 16 years of service to the town, has retired. His replacement is Casey McHugh. Casey's start date was July 1st. In that capacity, we thought it good to have some overlapping. We've also offered Joe to stay on a consulting basis for an undetermined amount of time, strictly as a private contractor. And he's agreed to do that. We think that I say we, I mean, the Board of Selectmen feel that would be good to help with a transitional situation of the position. Casey is probably our longest tenured employee with DPW, but there were things that he was not familiar with, that he did not have experience in, and we think that Joe can help with that. Examples are long-term budget planning, capital improvement planning for equipment and that sort of thing, so.
So the budget's okay for the two?
Yeah, we think we'll be fine. Casey was hired less than what we were paying Joe. We thought that was only fair with Joe's long-term experience. And we'll be reviewing Casey as far as performance guidelines and that in 90 days and again at 160 days.
So it'll be a balance.
So, yeah, so it should balance out. And we wish him the best. So far, so good. Transfer station updates. I don't know if you folks have seen some of the things that we've started. Of course, the new gate was the first one with ARPA funds. We're expanding the road, putting in an extra lane there. We've got our new guard station in, although it hasn't been hooked up yet to electrical. It's self-sufficient. It has heating, air conditioning, all self-contained. Our intention is the new position that was approved in last year's budget for DPW. Part of that time will be having a person in there specifically to check stickers and that sort of thing and ask any questions. We think it'll improve the efficiency of the transfer station. I know there's a lot of people that feel that privileges have been being abused up there, and we think we'll get a good guidance on what's going on up there. We have been shooting for August 1st. Realistically, it's probably going to be more towards the middle of August, perhaps the 1st of September. We've got new transfer station stickers coming in. We've got a new rules booklet that'll be printed. The improvements that have been made up there, the guard station, everything, have not got any impact on the budget from the transfer station. They're all being paid through the NIPS grants that we received. And those NIPS funds have to be spent at the transfer station on associated areas, so it fell well within those guidelines. So, you'll see some updates and signage and just the overall protocols and that. That department works under the supervision of the director from DPW. And he's already had meetings with staff up there, and I've had several week meetings with themselves. So you should notice quite some changes up there. ARPA update, my understanding is unless they extend it, and I understand the feds are considering that because of supply delays and that. But it's to have our final designations on what we're going to be recommending for ARPA no later than October 1st. If any of you have any ideas or projects that you'd like us to take a look at, we're in the process of doing that. Again, when I say we, talk about the Board of Selectmen, and we're taking recommendations on that.
Bill, I have a question for the ARPA funding. Is it possible to use any of that funding for recreation at the lake for the playground? Or is that off the?
We looked into that because they're a private entity up there, and that's within the jurisdiction of the Ashford, the Lake Chaffee, you're talking about Lake Chaffee, Lake Chaffee Association.
Yes,
We don't believe we have jurisdiction. Certainly something we can revisit.
yeah, because I was thinking, you know, if it's ARPA funding, I mean, it had to do with
Yeah,
the community.
yeah. I'll, if you don't mind, I'll say that you had mentioned that. The school tank replacement is proceeding. I don't know if any of you noticed, but we got it out of the ground last week. I went up there and it looked nice and neat. It was up on the top of the truck and everything else. And I said to the truck drivers, I said, how's it going, gentlemen? They said, terrible. They didn't get their state permits in order to, because of the height of the tank is higher than they thought.
Oh.
So their
no.
intention was to move it from where it was to the back playground at the school until the permits came in, which is gonna be a matter of a couple of days. Excuse me once. Yeah, hello, yeah. Around the side door, right across from your office. Okay, bye. So long story short, anyway, they tried their best and they had to get Frontier special permission. They couldn't even get the wires up to get it from where it was to the back of the school. So they had to take it off the truck and it sat there for another 2 days, and finally the permits came in and it got moved, so. Never a dull moment.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Dave, how are you?
How's
Good to see you.
everybody?
Good.
Here.
Everybody know Dave Roston?
No, I do not.
Dave is well, I was gonna say new chairman, but it's been a little while in the rec committee,
Nice to meet
appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
What is he now?
He is the chairman of the Ashford Recreation Committee. Where was it? The new tank is scheduled to be delivered tomorrow. First indications are, and they have to take soil testings and everything. Everything was clean, no complications. In fact, I talked to a couple of guys. The name of the company doing the installation is the largest in the state. It's called SSE. And they said when they got the tank out of the ground, it looked like it had just been installed. They said they very seldom see anything that clean.
Wow,
So
that's
far.
good.
Absolutely.
Good news.
Absolutely.
Now, is the new tank going back in the ground?
Yes, it's gonna be a $20,000. I wish it was 20,000. 20,000 gallon tank. As you know, we appropriated 270,000 for that. 135 from our capital improvement fund and 135 from the school through their 2% fund. Right now, it seems, and I don't want to give any figures out yesterday that, or tonight, that we're gonna be coming in slightly below budget. But we still got paving in the playground, and there's still things to be done. That's going well. The school roof project is, we're still looking for the summer of 24. Right now, the RFP is in its final stages, probably approved for putting out for proposals either tomorrow or Monday. At that time, and I've spoken to your board on different occasions, that we're gonna have to be looking at funding sources or methods. We've got the $5 million bonding that's been approved, but we're gonna need some upfront money. So the bond calls for temporary bonds to be issued, or we can go out and take a loan. Both of those things cost money. Frankly, if the dollar amounts come to 100,000 or less, I'm assuming my board will support coming to your board, and we'll be asking for the town to lend itself money because it will be reimbursed. The auditor tells me that that's a common practice, but I think it'd be premature for us to make up our minds until we know, what the dollar amounts are. And when I say upfront money, we're talking about architectural fees, drawings, software that we'd be talking about, those sort of things. And I've heard figures of 90,000, I've heard up to just shy of $1 million, so I want to make sure we're at on what we're talking about. That's a
Right.
big spread.
Yeah.
So those two projects, and I've got to say that it's been a pleasure working with the superintendent and the Board of Ed up there, hand in hand, in a partnership relationship. Seems it's going very smooth on both projects. I know it's been a pleasure for me, so. All right, we had our first, I'm not gonna call it a kickoff meeting, but as I mentioned at your last board meeting, we are proceeding to try to institute the Ashford School program. And we're focusing on a September 1st, and David has also been intimately involved in doing financial projections on it and job descriptions, a number of other things. We appreciate that, David, very much. We had a meeting last Monday morning, work session. School superintendent, chairman of the Board of Ed was there. You were there.
Yes.
I was there. My board was there. I'm leaving a couple of people out, but it was by stakeholders in it that are involved in it. And we went over things like, Sherry Susie was there. Excuse me, Sherry, I didn't mean to leave you out.
Thank you.
We went over things like preparation and coordination with our finance department. Application forms and the criteria for what. There are a number of families. I mean, one of the reasons why my board has decided to go forward with this is there's a critical need in town. There are only 2 certified daycare centers in town. And I've seen projections of over 80 students of a need being here in town. We're going to start slow. We're going to start right now. We're projecting between 50 or 20 students taking part. And what we'll do is reevaluate after the first semester. There are statutory guidelines, which David has worked on and called all of our attention, with a certain number of personnel you need per 10 units of students. So we're talking about hiring 3 people up there. They'll be hired through they'll be town employees. They'll be hired and handled through, the finances will be handled through our finance department as projected right now. We're going to have a supervisor, an assistant supervisor, and an assistant to both of them. The intention is, and when we say we're partnering with the school, the Board of Ed is bought on to this. Cindy is going to be the primary person in charge of overseeing those 3 personnel. I'm going to be working hand in hand if we're talking about running into a problem or a crisis comes up or whatever. Her and I will have equal status on getting together and making a judgment call. Time sheets and that are going to be turned in and signed by the supervisor. They will be reviewed and signed off by the school superintendent, come up to me for signature before they go to the finance department. In theory, this entire project, for lack of another term off the top of my head, will be self-sufficient. It's been designed, there will be no cost to the town whatsoever. other than personnel time that we'll be putting into our finance office next.
So how many people total for employees? You got three
Three.
supervisors?
One supervisor.
Yeah.
An assistant supervisor
Yeah.
and an assistant.
So those are the three people?
That's the three.
Okay.
And we've got draft, and when we got together with this meeting, going over draft, David worked on it, and we're all starting to tweak now, job application and job descriptions and that sort of stuff. The things that we're gonna need, and we went over, I'll just go over these briefly, were supplies, startup supplies. We're thinking, Dave and I worked on it, we're probably talking $2,000 at the most. We think we can come up with seed money to do that. We think that's probably a legitimate thing under ARPA, because it is a municipal service to help finance. We're going through emergency protocols. If a child gets sick, I mean, one of the reasons that this has been going as slow as and we recognize it, it's a huge responsibility to take on any children and the responsibility for caring out for them, even if it's 3 hours a day. And we appreciate that very much. And that's why we want to make sure all our ducks in a row and that we have a united stance on how we're going forward. And I touched on this earlier. What we discussed was utilization of networking between the town of Ashford, the school, and other town uses like our webpage, our text my gov, and everything, communicate with the parents. You know, there's going to be an issue where if it's a single parent household and somebody's car breaks down, they work in Hartford or wherever they may work, or at the end of the day, we have to make sure we have precautions made where we can cover that sort of thing. So we're anxious that that's going forward. I can't discuss particulars, but the Board of Selectmen is in the middle of doing union negotiations with town employees, and that's ongoing. I'm expecting that'll be wrapped up within 30 days at the most. I would be happy to answer any questions, just to touch on, and Judy, I don't have one of your, I apologize, one of your agendas in front of you, but at your last meeting, and I know you put it on the agenda, I asked you to include discussions of the
Revolving account?
revolving account. Yeah, one of them both, and Sherry Susie has some expertise in both of these issues. But regarding the recreation and Kit is with us too. Hi, Kit. Kit Eves, our senior center director. What's the term you're using, Sherry? I just.
Activities account, we can do,
Activities account.
yeah, recreation activities account, or, you know, senior center activities account is what, you know.
What I've asked David to be here, and this all sort of new grounds, the expertise that Sherry has. And I'm not sure where we are on the agenda, but I know she's taken time out of her private time, and I know I called David last minute. If we could move that up on the agenda, Judy, to discuss.
Actually, it was,
Next, I think.
yeah, well, we had a discussion for town employees coming to speak about their job functions, and I don't know if anybody's prepared to do that. Look at it, Sherry. If you guys aren't, then we.
I take care of the money.
I try to take care of the seniors.
No, we just thought it'd be nice to invite people to talk about, you know, their job responsibilities so that everybody on the board's aware of, you know, how much work you do, what you do. And so when it comes time to the negotiations and everything else, that, you know, they're aware of, you know, your contributions to the town. That's all. So, I mean, if anybody would like to start tonight, that's fine. We can do it after Bill's spiel about the recreation activities account. Really, Sharon.
Kit, you want to go ahead?
Well,
Go ahead.
let me let
Okay.
Kit, because Kit was the first one that came to me about a frustrating situation where she thought that the possibility there of expanding her programs for the seniors was there, but she had a funding problem. Kit, maybe you can address the board briefly.
Sure. So one of the things that happens is that we go to plays or, well, Tuesday, we went to AquaTurf. And that's a meal and it's a show. And the seniors pay the $52. That's the total cost, but they pay the $52. So what happens is that, so I had 10 people, so that's $520. Yes, they paid it. Yes, that shows up in my revenue, but it also comes out of my budget amount. And so if I'm going to send 10 people 10 times a year, and it's more than that, sometimes it's 11 or 12 people, then it looks like all of my activity money goes to these 10 to 14, 15 people who do this only this one thing. And it's not that, but it shows, it means that I'm not always sure then how much I actually have that I can put for programming for the Tai Chi class, which they do pay some for it, but not the total amount. For Dime Bingo, where I have to buy bingo daubers, but they pay me $2, but the bingo daubers cost $2.11, so they don't quite pay it all. I'm looking for an account where it would be negative. So $52 comes in, $52 goes out for that activity because the seniors have paid for the total amount of that particular program. And I think it would be helpful for knowing what's left then in my programming budget.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, Kit came to me with that and I, right away went to our finance expert. She says, oh, well, that's the way we do it in Sterling and that's the way I did it in Brooklyn. But David, I know we're putting you on the spot because it's last minute. Do you know of a similar problem with the rec department that you're experiencing that Kit's addressing there with
No, not
cash
to my
flow?
knowledge.
Okay,
Not, yeah.
okay. Sherry, perhaps you can give us your overview?
Okay, so.
Oh.
Kit, you
Sherry
all,
Fruity or Sherry York?
Oh, Sherry York is there.
Oh, Sherry, I didn't see it come in. Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
I
Sorry,
don't see it on the screen.
I'm driving right now,
Okay,
but I am listening in.
very good. Do you have a similar problem that Kit had expressed here?
Not exactly, but I'm open to listening to how this revolving account might work and see if it's something that could benefit us as well.
Sounds good.
So
I'm up.
The floor is yours.
Okay, so
Yeah.
activities account, how I've worked them is basically can go for the seniors or recreation. So you have a budget that's set up. So you have to specify what you're going to, what you're going to fund for expenses and what you're going to take in for revenue. I use recreation as the example because you have the summer camp, let's say. So you have that program, anything that is needed to buy for that program comes out of Sherry York's expenses, and then the revenue comes into her recreation revenue. But say someone comes along and says, I want to do a painting class. So the recreation activities account, as I say, or this could be, senior, someone could come in and say, hey, I want to do this class. So it's going to be $300 for the class, which includes, the payment to the person,
the supplies.
the instructor and supplies. So then you put it out to Ashford or to anybody, and you charge a certain dollar. Let's say it's going to be $50, because that will cover the cost of the supply plus, the person. So you take in that money, and so if you pay out 300, you could, you take in 300. So that is something that just nets itself. But if you don't have enough people that sign up for this painting class, well, then nothing gained, nothing lost. And it doesn't take out of the budget, you know, and you could do this for any activities. I mean, if you have a trip that you want to go to the Yankees Red Sox game, it's for a bus and tickets. You figure out the cost, pay, the town, you pay for the tickets out of this activities account, and then you put the registrations out and you collect your money to cover your costs. So then, and that you could do a number of different programs that you're limited to when you have a budget, because if you have, a program that you put in your budget and it doesn't go, well, you can't change your budget to do a different program. So you're very limited there. So the big thing, you just have to decide what revenue you want to come in on the town side to offset, the seniors or, your recreation. But then you can use this activities account and, do trips, wherever projects, any running clubs, basketball, going to plays, going, to the casino. It could be a number of different things, and you have a little more flexibility with that. Sometimes you'll have a program that runs, say you needed 10 applicants, 10 applications to cover your costs, and you only have 9. You're still probably going to still run the program. You may be $50 in the hole, but you'll be making up on another program that will cover, those costs. Because there's always going to be those few programs that you don't have enough to cover. If you're not going to have, if you're not going to, even if you're less than 50%, then it's pretty good that you don't run the program. Not enough people were interested in that activity. So, that's pretty much, the activities account that I use in my other towns. So it gives the flexibility a little bit more. And then you can take those expenses out of your budget. So if Kit's got 5 trips to wherever, that can come out and she could put it in the activity, do activities account, and that can reduce your budget. I mean, of course, it'll reduce your revenue, but you have a little more flexibility. So
it actually is useful, and here's another reason why. I have some people who have already paid for the rest of the year for the AquaTurf trip, but they paid for it back in last fiscal year.
Oh, so then what happens?
So you've already got their money, but now it's going to come out of this year's budget. Because they've already paid for the trip.
Okay. So in that case, yes, if they could pay for these programs ahead of time, and you don't lose that money, it doesn't go back into the general fund, because right now that money went into last year's budget and it's in the general fund, and now you're going to be over in your program line because
I've got 2 people who paid for 5 trips that are up still to go. Right.
Because you're not going to show the revenue, it's going to be short.
Yeah.
But it's in last year's, where you would have been over in last year's.
Right.
Yeah.
So Sherry, are you talking about this being per department type thing, or like just one account for that specific purpose, or?
You could do one account, or you could do 2, one specifically for recreation and one specifically for the seniors. It's a little easier to keep track of if they're separate, because Kit will have her own programs and Sherry would have her own, and it's easier that this is all associated with one or the other if they're separate.
Judy, through you, Sherry, when we're doing budget preparations, we have an expenditure side, and I'm thinking particularly of the rec committee right now, and then a revenue side.
Yes.
Would this have a negative impact on the revenue side?
It could, depending what you're taking out of the revenue. It could a little bit if you're, banking on this revenue for the town. Yeah, it could. For the most part, what I, like in Sterling that I handle, all the monies that go to the town is the after school program and summer camp and basketball programs. Any other programs that he runs that our rec director runs goes through the activities account. So say if somebody gives a donation to the rec department, he puts it in the activities account because we've got a couple places that will specifically want that money to go towards a program. So we actually have on Friday nights, we have bands that come and we get donations. So that money goes into the activities account. So to use for future concerts in town. We also have, I've seen too, like scholarships that town, recreation will get from different businesses for donations to help offset recreation programs. I know Sherry has that with the Lions Club right now, but you could also solicit, businesses and things or people, to give for scholarships, and that money would go into that activities account also. So when you have summer camp come and somebody needs assistance in helping pay, you have that money. It's not taken out of a town account. It's out of that activities account because you've earmarked it scholarships.
And that would have helped me when we went to the opera. I had a woman who really wanted to promote going to an opera. We could do the van, drive them to this theater where there was going to be, but she said, I will pay for 3 people who cannot afford to do this. And so what I'm actually doing there though, is that I had to have her actually come in and while they were there so that they got paid for it. So she then knows who could really afford to pay to go to
You
the
don't want,
opera thing.
yeah.
And it's not the best situation, whereas she would have just given me the money, I would have put it in the account. I would have then have said, okay, I got 3 scholarships. Here we go.
Yes. So when you went and paid the bill for the tickets, you would have
Right.
just used part of that scholarship money to offset the cost.
Yeah, and that would have been very useful.
Yes. And then if for say it's June and we're getting close to the new year, you wouldn't have lost that donation money because right now it's probably going into your line for revenue and back into the general fund.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Mhm.
I have
Sherry, your-
one guy who comes every year on his wife's birthday to make a donation to the senior center. And basically what I do is I think of something that would be great to make the center. So one year I had him do so our correspondence, and so it doesn't all sit on my desk for the club stuff, for so and so got this card, somebody wants this given to so and so, and it was just sitting on my desk and I was playing secretary for 20 people. So I had him get me post office boxes, and everybody has their name on it, and I can now just slip that right into their correspondence. If they don't pick it up, it's not on me anymore. They know they have a box and should check. And it would have been nicer to be able to have put that into an account and then bought something, whereas I had to say, this is what I want. Are you willing to go buy it for me?
Yeah.
Gary York, David.
Yes.
You guys got anything you'd like to add or questions or anything?
No, I understand what Sherry is talking about. And I understand about the revenue, all of that. So I think presently Sherry York is presently doing that. And also with the Lions Club, she has a $2,000 that comes in. So on the scholarships that she deducts from there, if a participant needs assistance at that point.
That would be correct.
So
Hi, can you hear me?
is
Yeah.
that a different account? or-
Okay.
Oh,
Yes, I've been listening. uh, my money goes into, income and expenses, but all the benefits that Sherry Susie was talking about with this account, we currently already do that.
Mhm.
So, I'm
Right.
not exactly sure how we would benefit from it, or if it's really just a matter of kind of changing the name of the account or something. As Dave said, we currently already operate that way.
Correct, for
Good.
your,
Then there's
for some of your
precedent.
programs.
Hooray.
Sherry, now that Lions Fund, that's strictly for children though, correct?
No,
Okay.
it originally started with that intention. But the Lions Club has been very generous and allowed us to use it for other things.
Oh, okay, great, okay. That gives me a little more insight onto it, thank you.
Yeah, whenever we have gone back to them, like during the pandemic, when we weren't running any programs and couldn't send any kids to camp, we did end up getting a new playscape at that time, and we said, hey, would you allow us to buy playground mulch with this money? And they said yes.
Gotcha.
So
Yep.
they're happy with us and happy with the way we've chosen to spend that money, and feel that we're good stewards of that scholarship fund.
That is, her program is pretty
So
similar.
they've been very good to us in regard.
Yeah, Sherry's program is very similar to an activities account, but it's used for scholarships per se. Where, she could do other programs and things if she chose, to go on, trips, or, put out painting classes, or, any kind of class, and you could do that sort of thing. Running clubs, different things like that could run through this activities account. So basically that money that you collect from, applications would pay for anything that running club per se would need. Pretty much is to pay the instructor at that point for a running club, but people have done, stained glass, we've seen, painting. The biggest one is trips, like the trips to Salem, to Yankees Red Sox games. We've done football games. We've done to Boston, to the flower show. There's all kinds of different things that could run through that program that doesn't necessarily have to be budgeted, because if you put all these programs into a rec budget, that's going to really your rec budget's going to increase tremendously expense wise, and then you would offset it with revenue also. But this way it's not going to the taxpayers, to be in the, to raise, for your mill rate. This is something, if I saw that Ashford was having a trip going to New York City, the Christmas show, I could sign up for that. It doesn't have to be an Ashford resident. I could sign up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay you X amount. That's my choice to pay whatever the fee is. Now I've got, I'm going to the Christmas show in New York. So it's just gives a little more options for different programs to run. That's what they're used for.
So Sherry, I'm a little confused. Why does a rec have this going on already? And we're bringing it to the board?
They only have, their program is strictly the Lions Club. The Lions are the ones that donate. That's the only thing that runs through there. So it's for scholarships, for camps and different swimming that they offer. So it offsets. So you could elaborate on that, let's say that program, and include other project, or I mean, other trips, or, whatever activity you want. We'd earmark the Lions Club money as a sub of the activities account. So that would be strictly earmarked for, the programs that Sherry and Melissa run through there. And then you could do other programs through the rec committee that, decides, hey, we're gonna run this activity, which could be run through that program too, but you wouldn't touch the Lions money. This would be another sub of, say trips, performances, summer camp trips, so say some trip doesn't pan out with summer camp, something happens, you can't go for the swimming because of bacteria, so you got to change it, do some other activity. So you could possibly find something that you've collected this money for a summer camp trip and use it to go, we're going to go to the movie theater instead, so you're a little more flexible with money for programs.
Judy,
Oh,
one of the,
Christina, excuse me, Bill. Christina.
Can I ask
had
a
her hand up.
question? So I'm just trying to see if I can wrap my head around this. Can you hear me
Yes.
okay? Yeah, so am I right in thinking that maybe the best way to approach this would be like your activities fund is for those activities that can be self-funded, meaning
Yes.
people are paying their way,
Yes.
and that the recreation budget, what we think of right now as the recreation budget or fund, however, whatever the proper term is, that would be more for town efforts that are towards recreation but are not self-funded, meaning if we theoretically want to put a new playground in, that would go in your recreation budget.
Correct.
And your bike camp activity that's covered primarily by those fees would go in that activity fund.
You've got it. Absolutely.
Got
Got it.
Thank you for
Okay,
saying
yeah.
that, Christina. Thank you for saying that, Christina. It makes it clearer for me too.
Yeah.
The programs that the town funds are our concerts, our Halloween party, our carol sing, and our ice skating in the winter. Those are programs that the town funds. But
Absolutely.
generally, the way that we have done it is our other programs that are self-funded, like bike camp and swimming and basketball, generate enough extra income that it covers those that are freebies, shall we say, to the community. So that's how we have operated. But if Sherry wants to separate it out so that we have those activities funds that are self-funded in one category, and then another part that just breaks out those programs that the town funds, shall we say, I don't see a problem with that.
Yep. That's Christina. She did a great job at explaining that real quick in a nutshell.
Thank you, Christina. Bill.
I guess my motivation, and I'm gonna have Sherry come to a Board of Selectmen meeting in the near future and probably rehash a lot of this. The Board of Selectmen has not taken a position, but what motivated me, and I had a couple of ulterior motives, but the thing that seemed to appeal to me was an opportunity for the departments, talking in particular the senior center and the rec department, to enhance their existing programs through a method. And then the selfish part about this is through the years, and I know members of your own board here have asked me certain questions about how we distinguish revenues and expenditures with the rec committee, and I haven't had a clear insight on how that is distinguished. And what I was hoping was that if we had a meeting of the minds and this made sense, that this would help in both of those issues. Expanding programs or giving you the ability to do it if needed, and also perhaps making it a little more transparent and explain the difference that we have between expenditures, different accounts that we have donations from, or that sort of thing. And, you know, the reason I wanted to come to the board was that we start here and have it. I also thought, Judy, this turns out to be, you can get a good idea of some of our staff, what they do right here from this discussion.
Mhm.
But I wanted to run it by you, just have a brainstorm session. And consider whether or not, you know, my board wants to make a formal recommendation to your board for consideration of it.
Okay, any thoughts, guys?
I was just gonna say, I didn't realize that this wasn't already in the act. I kind of thought it kind of was, but
No,
I can definitely see the need for it, about
Yeah.
how the changing of the budget and money that was put in would be.
no, the reason I talked to Sherry and Kit about it, and very briefly to Sherry York about it, was we're gonna be going into the budget, process pretty quick. I think it might be time to be on the same page, and if it makes sense to set up these accounts that we're talking about right now, this would be the time of the year to consider it, but no decisions have been made. It's strictly just, I looked at this as sort of a workshop to get a bit of an education myself on what this is. The only expert on this that I know attending this meeting is Sherry Susie.
I mean, it makes sense to break it up so that we can see what's going on. I mean. But as Jesse said, I always thought it was that way anyway. You know, I didn't realize that one department's doing something different than the other department.
Yeah.
And then my question was why, you know, so.
So you would have to, correct me if I'm wrong, so you would have the senior center and also recreation. You have, listening to the conversation, you would have separate line items for each one. So in other words, if you have donation money coming in, that money would specifically go towards the donation. If you have revenue, the revenue money, it should be in a separate line item. And then Ashford activities, meaning that I call them, in my words, freebies to the town, will go into another line item. Am I correct on that, Sherry?
I think that's what she said,
Yes.
but I don't
Yeah,
understand.
this way that you have better, so if a person could actually sit down, they'll see the different line items where all the money is being allocated or distributed from. So,
Yeah, it's perfect sense. I don't understand why it's not right now.
okay. So is it possible for the town to come up with those line definitions?
Yes,
We
Yes,
had, you know, the
basically.
Board of Selectmen would make
Yeah.
a recommendation, the Board of Finance would consider it. And I assume the ideal time is when going into the new budget process.
yes.
Um,
Yes,
That's-
I mean, and it's not so much a budget because you don't set up a budget for it. It's just a fund that happens. You know, you would.
Money in,
let's
money
see,
out.
Yes, because you don't know what the program's going to be at the beginning of budget time. It's basically just an activities account. So you have the lines, you'll have, I'm using Kit's for a quick example. I mean, she would have a line trips. She could have cookie making class. She could have, you know, it could be just about anything. I'm trying to think what I've got. I'm at a loss at the moment. What lines? I think I have like.
They want to learn cardio drumming. It's a new thing. And so I'll have to come up with some money to start it off with because they won't have the equipment.
Yeah.
And
Would you repeat cardio what?
cardio drumming.
Drumming.
Basically, you get one of those big round balls and you get drumsticks and you beat the ball.
Yep.
As you
You know what
do
it is?
whatever.
Exercising, especially it's great for
Exercise
seniors.
hard.
Interesting.
So you're saying that out of your budget, you'd have the fund with
Yeah,
a certain amount in it to be your backup for whatever programs, and that would be used to in and out
right.
with the
So in
funding.
case it doesn't work, although it's all the rage, I've had 3 requests for cardio drumming, so it looks like I'll be doing that.
Yeah. Where you.
Remind me not to visit the senior center when you start
Oh, it's
that.
loud. Oh, it's loud. I've been online to hear and see it do it. Oh my God, it's loud.
Sounds
But
like a perfect outside
they're having a
activity.
ball. So a ball.
She's hilarious.
Judy?
I would
Judy?
think, go ahead.
Go ahead. Who's saying
Uh,
Judy?
Can you hear me? This is Sherry. Yes, I was saying Judy. This is Sherry York talking. We have, through the years, every time I finish a program, I fill out a program data sheet on it. And it has on it what our income was, what our expenses were, what the net was, and then a section at the bottom for comments on what to do different next time or how to make it better or what to change. So
Mhm.
I have that on every program we've ever run. When it comes time for budgeting though, they've asked for totals. So we put the total in of what we're gonna bring in on programs and then the total of what the expenditure would be. But we've never shared, say, with the Board of Finance, each individual program and where it's at.
No, understood. No,
Yep.
I was just
Okay.
wondering why we haven't done it for the other departments, because I
keep
mean, it
up
makes
here.
perfect
I want
sense.
your form. It's one less, a whole bunch of stuff less, the less I have to keep in my head.
Oh, great. You
I
want one of
want you
my
to email it to me.
forms? Okay,
All right, ladies, thank you. All right. So, I mean,
Love them.
It's something for us to think about. I think we have, get some input from the auditor too. It sounds like a practice that I think, as you touched on, probably we should have a long time ago.
yeah.
But
But like I said, at least be consistent. If you have one doing it the one way, have the other one doing it the same way, be
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
Less confusing. Okay, thank you, ladies, and thank you for your time and fun.
Sherry, if you could
All right.
stay, Susie, if you could stay with us,
Do
what's
you,
on the next?
Let's see.
do you want me to tell you about what I do?
Yes, ma'am.
Me? Okay.
Give it a whirl.
Is that now the time?
Now's the time.
Okay, so every month I put together a calendar. So, and the calendar has in it everything that's done Monday through Friday, but since if Sherry's doing something on a Saturday, I'll also write that in so that everybody sees the entire calendar. So the calendar will have on it things like Mahjong, Tai Chi twice a week. I have congregate meals twice a week. There's the ASCO does big bingo once a week in the evening. I do dime bingo every Thursday. There's dominoes. There's and then there are trips. So for instance, this week they went to Trader Joe's this morning. They went to AquaTurf already this week for that show. We've got a play coming up in August we're going to. And then there's another one in November. They really wanted to go see the Beauty and the Beast. So I'm planning all of these different trips. We planned a beach trip. We planned to go to the beach. We planned, oh gosh, something, we do lunch bunch. Lunch bunch is now so popular. I have two different groups. So I have lunch bunch 1 and lunch bunch 2. They go on different days of the week, which then makes more people able to do this. And they pay for their own food when they go, but the buses usually has 11 to 15 people on it. So I'm putting out the flyers for that, letting folks know about that. While I'm doing these calendars and making these flyers, let's just talk about today, just what my day was like this morning. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, as I'm walking through the door, I've got literally 3 people waiting to walk through the door with me to look at the flyers to sign up for things. But I've got a new person who's come in and he says, the lighting in my condo isn't any good. Could I come in and color here? I really like to color. It's my art form. And I said, absolutely, you are welcome to come. So I'll get a question like that. Then the phone rings. I probably had 15 calls today. One of them was somebody who needed a walker. Well, we don't have a place to store walkers, but I know where they can go and get one borrowed. I have somebody who called me today because they're turning 65 in about 6 months and they want to know what they should be doing for Medicare. So I've made an appointment. I'm going on vacation the next 2 weeks. So I've made an appointment to meet with them when I get back to help them figure out what they need for insurance. You see, I'm also your municipal agent. So I also took a call today from an adult daughter who lives in another state, and she's worried about her mother and wants to know if what my programming is like, and so I will send that to, actually I've sent it to her, but she also says, I think my mom is going to need some caregiving. So I'm going to be coming up in a couple of weeks to just check out the house and check out mom. And so I will then make an appointment to meet with her after she goes and checks out mom, because I literally, as a social worker, I have a list of all the things that she should be looking at to see whether her mom needs extra help. If her mom needs extra help, then I set up, here are all the different agencies and what I know about them from what people have told me. I had a call today from somebody who needs their lawn mowed and they can't do it anymore. Do I know somebody who can mow a lawn? And I have a list of people who have over the years have told me they will do this for a certain fee. I don't negotiate the fee for them, but what I do is I tell the seniors, you know, here are these people. If you find that they're a problem person and they didn't come or they didn't do a good job or they charge too much, call me back and tell me that so that I won't recommend them for the next person who calls. I get a lot of folks who do that for shoveling snow as well. In the winter time, we didn't have it this winter, thank God. It was a wonderful winter, but in the winter time, I make sure that all of our seniors who are particularly vulnerable, who are shut-ins or are you know, have medical issues, to make sure that they know where to call if they have to, and I do check-ins on them. Do you have somebody, do you have a place to go if there's a bad storm coming? Can you go with your family for that time? Do you have a backup generator? You know, I check all those things to make sure that they are okay or will be during a bad storm. I'm responsible for the building itself. So I make sure that we have a contract with somebody who comes and cleans once a week. I make sure that when something needs to be fixed, like we have closing doors to our craft room, but it's also where medical procedures are done. They do foot care there. Well, it was off its trolley. So I'm the one who's calling Public Works, hey, can you come and do this? I'm the person who called Public Works to tell them that the gutters had to be cleaned out, or it was going to be beginning to cost you guys something for the roof if the roofs went bad, because I do all of that. So I walk around the center almost every day just to make sure that there's no garbage around, that those sorts of things are being done. So my days are always different. I do take a lot of phone calls. It's amusing sometimes because I will be in the bathroom with a telephone and the phone will ring and I will have to say to people, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that right this minute. I'm indisposed, but I will call you back and take care of it for you. Because I'm the only person there, that, you know, it's really difficult to not take the phone with you when you go in.
Okay. This is being recorded.
I know I'm being recorded, but you have to have a sense of humor about what you do. And I have to, and that's part of it. And I have to be very patient. I have somebody has the key to my office. They have abused that privilege. I did not give them the key to my office. I don't know how they got it. And I'm right now really trying to get it back. But I've had to be very patient with this person because she's a volunteer. And so there's a lot of that in my job as well. She actually yelled at me today when I asked her this for the third time to give me back the key. You know, if I don't get the key back, then the next thing I'm gonna be doing is calling the locksmith and changing the lock on my office door. So again, you've got to have a sense of humor to be able to do the job, but those are all parts of it.
Well,
Um,
Kit, we certainly appreciate all the work that you do for this town, and we appreciate you taking
Well,
care of our seniors or less
I
fortunate.
really, well, I really think that that's an important part of, it's not just planning trips and activities as the senior center director. You really have to be able to know the population and know all the other things that they're going to need, to have the resources, you know, the Rolodex that I have, the and the knowledge that I have to be able to say, here's where your next step is. And then this is what you're going to look for. And for that lady who's going to go visit her mother, then I'll be able to say, and then this is what you'll need next. So she'll have a step by step for many things, but she'll also have me to call, or anybody
Well,
else who has the job.
Like I said, thank you very much, and thank you for explaining all your activities. We got a pretty good bird's eye view of your craziness days. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Sherry, since you're on, Sherry Saucier, are you interested in giving your spiel tonight, or do you want to wait?
Can I go?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. It's nice to see you
Yes.
all.
Thank you.
Thanks, good night.
Good night.
Hey, Judy, I don't know if you want to ask
Yeah.
Sherry York, because she's on, and maybe, you know,
Okay, I don't even see her. Actually, I thought she left me.
It's on her phone.
Yeah, I don't even see her name though.
Yeah.
Sherry York, are you there? Yeah, I don't see her name.
yeah.
Could I
She's on-
just, one of the things I was hoping that we could just touch on briefly, and I did mention about the after-school program. I wanted to give you folks an opportunity to ask Sherry about how she foresees us handling revenues and expenditures through that account, because she's had experience with that before.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I mean, you know, what I touched on, Sherry, was the fact that from the beginning, we have said this is gonna be a self-sufficient, and from the projections that David has worked up from the finance and everything, it looks like that's conceivable, that will very well be the case. But what I was hoping perhaps you could share with the Board of Finance was just how you foresee that mechanically happening.
Okay, yeah, and an after-school program definitely can be supporting. What would happen, and I think the mechanism, I mean, that we're looking to go forward is, it's probably gonna be, are we looking to have it part of the budget bill? Like a separate line? Or do
Well,
you,
I am gonna take that up with the
separate
Board of Finance, but I foresee it being as a separate budget item.
so basically it would be another line in our budget that's gonna be, let's say, I'm gonna go with $50,000, let's just say that. So then you're gonna show revenue on the opposite side of $50,000 coming in.
It'll be offsetting. I
Yeah.
mean, what
Yes.
we're anticipating and what we've been talking about is that those families that are gonna be taking advantage of the program will be paying a month in advance.
Yes, yes,
So that should help with cash flow as I
Yes.
perceive that.
yes.
So what's the $50,000?
I'm just using that as a number. That's just
I
an
think it's
arbitrary
just,
number I'm just using, just so, because, you know, you could have it set as its own fund, an after-school fund, but if we're gonna just incorporate it into the budget, then it's gonna have its own category, you know, just like selectmen do, you know, tax collector and that. So it'll be after school program. So you're gonna have a budget set up that's gonna include payroll. It's gonna include any expenses. You could do what else would be expense? Let's just say, you know, the
Supplies.
expenses to supplies, right? If you're gonna break things out a little bit more, Social Security, Medicare costs, that all can be part of your regular budget. And then you'll have a line item on the revenue side that'll be after-school program, so you're gonna collect X amount of dollars for that. So, and then collecting the money, this was something that, talked about. I see a lot of towns collecting a month in advance for the placeholder, because basically it's not a daycare, but you're having a placeholder for a child. So no different than daycare, you end up paying, for your position regardless. So this, you would sign an application, fill out an application with all the information, and then you agree that you're going to pay X amount of dollars. And you could take it weekly. That can be a little bit of a pain. It's easier to upfront. And if you're going to do it weekly, then it needs to be at least a week in advance too. Because I find if you let it go further, then you're chasing somebody for money, and then that becomes an issue. I know there'll be some families that may have a hardship. That's perfectly fine. Then we'll work out a plan with that family, and that can very well be addressed.
I think one of the things that we anticipate, and that's why Melissa has been part of our organizational committee from social services. If we have a particular family that's in hardship, he believes we can do some assistance through the social service department.
And Melissa's looking presently at the Child Care Act through the state of Connecticut, which is going to be grant money that be coming into it. So I'm not too sure how much she got into it, dealing with it, but it's underneath the Child Care Act.
Is that the one, the Care for Kids that we were talking about the other day?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think with the Care for Kids, if there's a family that has a financial, they have to fill out the paperwork based on income, and then Care for Kids ends up sending the check to the town for, X amount of weeks for that child. And there may be a split with that they'll do 80% and the parents responsible for 20%. So that I have seen. But I know a lot with the Care for Kids, they have been asking that you have certain requirements like a daycare. So that becomes that little bit of that slippery slope with them, with funding, because they want certain things that have to be met, and you're not providing a daycare. It's an after-school program. It's just, you're not the daycare provider, so you don't have to meet the criteria that you would for a private daycare.
So
Anything else, Bill?
By your next meeting, I'm hoping that our committee will have consensus. And what we'll be doing is asking you to add this to your agenda, and we'll go over the particulars. And I've already had some discussions with town council. I have not talked to the auditor yet at all, but also pass on whatever recommendations they may have to you. I think we'll need Board of Finance authorization to set up the line items.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
What is the interest level? Because I think you put out a call in the Citizen, right? Ask for parents if they're interested. Have you gotten a sense of what the number?
Well, we have a couple of parents that have taken the lead on this probably 6 months ago. One of those parents had done her own survey over the last several months, and it had over 80 families that were children. I'm not sure how many families were involved, that were in need of this. I've got probably 20 other emails, somewhere between 15 and 20, of families who have expressed an interest. There's going to be some challenges. We've got some families that've got 3 children. And when you're talking,
that's 5 families if you're limiting it to 15.
exactly. So, we've got several of the inquiries that I've got are single parent families. Where the person works, and they only have one child. We're gonna have to make a determination on a selection criteria, which is gonna be difficult. With 15 or 20 applicants,
Right.
you know, the finalists, so those are the things that we're working through right now. You know, I don't think it would be fair if you have somebody with 3 children, you say, well, we'll take one of them.
Right.
I mean, that's basically not gonna do that family any good.
All right, so we have it for our next meeting. All right, is everybody good now?
I'm good, I appreciate your patience. Sherry, thank you very much.
Thank
No
you,
problem.
Sharon.
Anytime.
We'll hit you another night on your duties. Hi, Angie, do you have something, Angie, you want to say?
I can go through my duties real quick. You got me
Oh,
now.
go ahead, if you want to do it.
So duties of the treasurer of the finance office, basically, we
We'll
handle.
get you on. Sorry.
Okay, good night. Finance office handles all the deposits for the town, cutting the checks, payroll, investing funds, HR information that we, get funneled down from the selectman's office regarding new hires and things. It could be a little bit of everything, handling all of the different funds that we have, the capital projects, recreation, social services, dog fund, and just balancing out all the bank statements. Laura, she does all of that. She is tremendous when it comes to that. She's the one man show there when I'm not there. My days are, I'm limited on Fridays usually, and then, at home. But she reaches out to me anytime that she has an issue, needs a second, thought process on something. And actually I, use her to, Laura, I need this, it's to show, remember, I'm like, so it's those little things that we work very well together with. Then prepare budgets during budget time. We do, Laura sends out to all the boards, all the budgets, for expenditures. Trying to think what else happens in, actually dealing with the audit right now. The auditors supposed to be starting tomorrow. They'll be coming out. Then also dealing with the state in reporting different reports and things that they need on either a yearly basis. Things can be quarterly also with them too. Trying to think what else. Dealing with the school. I deal with the business manager over there, back and forth with different projects and things that are going on with the school with Dina. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean,
The
there's-
money handler.
yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sure there's other things that, that come up once a year that, workers' comp audits, those little things that we have to handle. So, but Laura does a lot of it, and she's an excellent, right hand. She does a lot. So I commend her, can't praise her enough. So.
Well, we appreciate both of you ladies doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, guys? Very good. All right, it seems like we're done with you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
I'll just stay on. I mean, you guys are almost done, so.
Okay, okay, so I skipped Jesse on the annual report, didn't I?
Yes.
We're going back to you because we want to make sure we get this done, right?
Yep. All right, so for the annual report, I received 17 of the 26 reports. So those that are missing is Office of the Selectmen, Board of Assessment Appeals, Conservation Commission, Transfer Station, Economic Development Commission, Department of Public Works, Fire Marshal, fire department and animal control.
And I got that list from Jesse tonight. I'll continue to try to follow up. We're getting there
Okay,
slowly.
we're gonna keep bringing it up every meeting until it's.
I do what I can.
Seems like it's better than last year.
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Yeah. It's reminders, just reminding. You know, it's not always a fun thing to do, and people like to put the less fun things behind them for a while.
Yeah, and I know it's increasingly challenging when there's turnover on the boards or in a position. You know, it's definitely hard to get somebody that left that position.
Now, you're all set on the board of ed, though. I got straightened out.
Yes.
That went directly to,
Yes.
I wasn't familiar with that.
Yeah, so we have someone who is basically the editor of the annual report.
Okay.
So Cindy had just emailed her directly,
Correct.
so I had no knowledge of it.
Yeah, it needs to come to the board and to the person that's doing the reports, not directly to the editor. I don't know when it happened, but
It
I mean,
got
it's
sorted
done.
out.
it's done, so.
Like Jesse said, you know, turnovers in positions and volunteer boards or payroll and everything, just,
Who was the person that actually puts it together then?
It's Amanda Robinson.
Okay.
Okay, say next items, agenda for the next meeting. And Jesse, thank you so much for doing that, by the way. I know you've been toughening it up for the last couple of years doing it for a job. It's a pretty big job. Okay, let's see. Next meeting, we'll have more discussion about the Ashford School Program. We'll have the update on the annual reports. And who do you think we should pick on for a victim to come in? The next one. Christine? Who do you think? Who should we ask?
you asking me?
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
Christine
you're the
got your,
boss.
Christine got your invitation. She couldn't make it tonight, so I'm assuming she's a good one. She's at the heart of a lot of things that are going on.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, who would be willing to, I know I sent her.
Yeah, I saw it. You know, one or both of the registrars would be interesting that, you know, they can give you an oversight and they have a lot of statutory responsibilities. I don't think
Okay,
all of us were aware of. Sherry Much, town clerk, I mean, you know,
who'd you guys
the
like
thing
to-
is, with a small town like we have, every single position is critical. And they work exceptionally well together and interact. I mean, Karen happens to be away this week, Karen Zulik, but Linda comes to me all the time and tells me how cooperative that office and Karen is on helping her through tax times and difficult times when Linda just doesn't have enough time to do it.
Well,
I
that's,
find that all of the offices have a lot of interaction, which is critical to running a town where you have a limited number of personnel.
that's the point of inviting them in to speak about their jobs. So that everybody knows what they're doing and, you know.
And it's nice to meet the individuals.
Mhm. So pick one of the registers.
What was that?
Are you guys interested in somebody else? Anybody in particular?
I wouldn't bother Linda Gagnon this time of year.
No, we'll say.
That seems pretty good.
The assessor, because that's a relatively new person, right?
The assessor, she was here before, but she has come back, so
Yeah.
she's
She's
a
excellent,
good one.
excellent.
You want to hear from the assessor?
I would be interested in that.
Okay, we'll ask the assessor
Yeah.
if she'll come in for next meeting.
You know, also another good one would be Melissa at some point. And with social services, there's
Yeah.
multi aspects of what she does between what she does here, what she does at the school. She has a number of funds available to her where she can help in different, you know, from the fuel fund to families that are in distress with other things.
Well, it's all good information, because like with this woman, tonight, Kat.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to say you have a senior center and you have an administrator or whatever of the senior center, but you don't know. Their personal involvement of the
Yeah.
things that they get, you know.
Yeah,
You know who would be good too, would be your zoning officer. The zoning enforcement officer, that's
Yeah.
Mike D'Amato. And then you have a wetlands enforcement officer too. His name is Bruce
Fitz.
Fitzback, Fitzback. I have to learn how to
Yeah, you
spell
have to
things
know how to
correctly.
spell everybody's name. They let you know when you
Yeah,
get it on.
Put that in the minutes, so we know who to, who to ask in the
Yeah,
future.
but they're very, you know, I've been exposed to them because I take minutes for those committees. But their jobs, I just think, like Mike D'Amato is young, of course, I think a lot of people are young because I'm so old. But, you know, I just have talked with him on the phone a couple times and I've said, oh my Lord, your job just seems so interesting. And really, it's really an eye opener as, you know, to have people tell about their work because it's very interesting
Yes,
to take care of a town. I mean, it's really something.
yeah, it's all
It's
been
not
recorded
actually-
too, so people can hear, you know, if they can't make it to a meeting or whatever, they can always pull it up and say, oh. You know, so-and-so was talking the other night, and yes, this is available, this is what they do,
Yeah.
faces with names.
And also, just the fact that the meetings are recorded, we were told how important that was with the Planning and Zoning Commission, that they've had a lot of public hearings because of the industrial zone at exit on 84. And one of those hearings was the recording was listened to over 300 times. And that's not all by just people in Ashford either, I'm sure, you know, because other towns, you know, they're impacted. They want to know what's going on in their area. So is there just so many different things that are
Good point.
part of the whole?
Exactly. I think it's a good experiment. But we'll try to just have like one person a
Yeah.
night, so it doesn't, you know, depending on how involved they are, it doesn't go too long. Okay, remarks for the good of the board. Thank you for those guys who put it down, and thank you, Jesse, for your work on that annual report again. I know how much is involved in that, and thank you, Bill and Valerie.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks.
And thank you, Sherry.
Thanks,
And
Sherry.
Angie. Okay, so,
Move to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Angie first, Jesse second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Thanks, Judy.
Night.
How many different boards do you do minutes for? Oh my gosh.
I was gonna,
Busy lady.
I was gonna get her next.